Each year we do these best of videos, and like clockwork, here is the best Aramid Fiber case video. And real quick, for the ones that keep commenting where's the later case, it's still without MagSafe, so
oh hell no!
Like always, there's two categories, the ultra thin cases and the bigger / bulkier cases. Let's start with the thinner ones. The contenders are Rebel with their Flex 16 series, Aulumu with their A16 Aramid, Pitaka with the Ultra Slim and the Tactile woven cases, Benks with their ArmorAir series, and of course Thinborne. Benks still has an amazing fit when it comes to their air cases. You do have to push the phone in from the side though, since the top parts of the sides are curved inwards a little, which creates that amazing fit but also makes it impossible to get it on without pushing one side in first. It has all-round protection and only the necessary cutouts for the buttons. The edges there aren't sharp either. It also has two so-called fit cutouts at the bottom to create a little smoother experience as far as installing it. And they don't look ugly at it. The cutouts are centered, which is great too, and that USB-C cutout is a pill with enough room for third-party cables as well. It has that unique Benks camera bump made from plastic, but feels really strong. There is front screen protection as well, but mostly present at the four corners. Features very strong MagSafe as well, at like a 9 out of 10, so very good. Now on their regular black cases, the texture isn't feelable at all, and it's completely smooth. But on the design variants, the texture is very obvious. So much like Pitaka's new lineup, they do have differences. One thing I must point out though is that on this color variant, you can clearly see that the weaving is done poorly. Now I did only notice it with this color, as you can see the other colors look fine, but it is something to note for sure. Maybe some quality control difference, and it may vary per unit. Pitaka has the Ultra Slim and the Tactile woven cases, but they are exactly the same case, just a different texture and a different design on the backplate. Exactly like Benks, or Benks exactly like Pitaka. Anywho, the fit is still amazing here too, although ever so slightly less snug as with the Benks ArmorAir. It's also installable in multiple ways, so unlike Benks where you really have to put one side first, here it does not really matter and still has that satisfying click to the fit every time. Much simpler design as far as the camera bump goes, which is aluminium and looks amazing, I must say. Silver does not really go with the Desert Titanium though, but they released a new colorway too, so the silver is no longer the only option. They do have those cutouts at the top and bottom part, probably for aesthetics, but now the phone is a little more exposed along with it, which I would avoid when it comes to these thin cases because there is already so little protection. And it's on such a critical spot as well. If it were to fall exactly there, the result would probably be a shattered screen. Now features pretty much exactly the same cutouts as the Benks cases too, but instead of a pill cutout, they went for a full rectangle, which is nice and also a lot bigger. Now the front screen protection is noticeably less though and relies on those four corners for their protection. It does cover up most of the iPhone with that curve inwards, and it's higher everywhere, but like 1mm. Very subtle. MagSafe is as strong, so still that 9 out of 10. And the texture is feelable on those colored versions, so even that is pretty much identical. Those colored ones do look flawless, and that sunset color goes amazing in combination with the Desert Titanium too. Now Thinborne always does things a little different. I must say, as far as the smoothness of the case goes, this one is still king. A very subtle texture, but very smooth. On another level. It's also the only one with a pill cutout for the camera control, where the others have either a full cutout or nothing. It's strong too, so no flimsy connection piece there, which once again gives that extra protection, but you can feel that too when operating the button, which because it's so low doesn't really impact the functionality at all, but it's still something of a preference thing. So you should decide whether or not that bugs you out. The fit is as easy as Pitaka, so installable in multiple ways, as long as you follow the golden rule, and that is don't push if you feel resistance. These cases can break if you force it, but that's with all brands. Features 4 fit cutouts at both the top and bottom, but once again that attention to detail is just so good here. Look at them, they even made these a design feature. Looks amazing. Similar basic camera bump, which is fine, and also colored black. The MagSafe is a 10 out of 10, just amazing. There's really no competition when it comes to the MagSafe. Front protection is very subtle here too though, and has those bigger corners. Amazing case. There's also a new player called Aulumu. This brand has a lot of fun cyberpunk-like designs, and they've done exactly that with their Aramid Fiber case too. From the design next to the camera bump, to the stripes and even the cooling slits, which don't help with cooling at all, but just looks cool. Has less of that curving going on, but the fit isn't any less because of it. Really a great fit. And if I had to describe the texture, it's most similar to the Pitaka ones with color, like the Sunset. Now, unlike other cases, this one features a huge cutout, almost the size of the entire side, which does leave a lot unprotected, but looks very cool. Now, they do have a thin line going on across the sides to protect the backside, but as far as the front goes, it's pretty naked. This line is also wider than the iPhone itself, which results in a not so naked iPhone feel. This is the case with the least amount of material, but feels less like the naked iPhone experience. MagSafe here is also a 10 out of 10, which is nothing short of amazing, and at the bottom it features that pill cutout here too, just like Benks. I'd say this is a very unique take on the otherwise very similar Aramid Fiber case market. Great job! Now, the Rebel Flex Series 16 is an Aramid Fiber case too, but done in a similar way that Mous does that with their Limitless 6.0. Like an Aramid Fiber plate on the back with a different material for the sides. Still, it's more comparable to the thin cases than it is the bulkier ones, so it fits right in. Because it features a different material on the top and bottom, it feels very similar to a normal case, with all the benefits that come with that, like increased drop protection, easier to install, and the aesthetic aspect. I think it does look awesome, and because they left the sides completely open, it still feels like a naked iPhone. The backplate is also exactly right. The edge of the backplate is rounded and sits on the exact place it should be, so that it almost makes the iPhone part of the case as far as the feeling of it goes. This is just great. Then a little higher up, it swirls over the edge in a beautiful manner to protect the corners, where it drops most of the time. Now, it is true that the sides will be exposed just like the Aulumu one, but here the top and bottom are a little heavier due to the materials used, which will most likely result in it falling there a little more often. But we'll find out in my upcoming drop test for sure. Front protection is only present at the top and bottom, but very good. So you can absolutely lay your iPhone face flat and it will not touch the desk. This case is an absolute gem. The MagSafe is like a 7.5 out of 10, so still more than enough, just a little less than the others so far. Then, which would I choose? Now, if you are in the market for a traditional Aramid fiber case, that would still be the Thinborne. If you have all of these in your hands, you can really appreciate Thinborne the most. And I don't think that's personal preference. It's just done very well. But I must say, this Rebel case wins as far as the protection goes. Because like I always say, those thin cases aren't really made for dropping them. But here, that's just not the case. Sure, it has its flaws, but this one is still the best of the best when it comes to the thin, naked iPhone experience. But both are fantastic. Then for the bulkier choices, the Mous Limitless 6.0, Spigen Enzo Aramid, Benks ArmorPro and the Montage ArmorPro variant, but also Pitaka with their military protective case. Let's first do Mous. Awesome case, With that soft felt liner on the inside of the case as well. Love that design there too. Fit is absolutely top class. Very easily installed, but you won't slap this off at all. Clicky buttons, but it does feature a huge cutout for the camera control. And even though I don't mind it, since it doesn't have huge corners which prevent me from operating that button, I can understand some of you who have a problem with that. Now I do want to future-proof this video by saying that it's totally possible that Mous will release a button in the near future as well. So be sure to check out the links in the description to check the most up-to-date version of this case. The neighbor's corner is a little weaker because of it too, but it did survive half of my slap test here. So whether or not that's a real danger, I don't think so. The edges of the backplate, where it switches over to the sides, could be sanded down a little better, especially since that edge is exactly where you hold this case. But it's not bad at all, just a minor detail. Crazy good protection, you won't ever have to worry with this case on, and good cutouts at the bottom too. Then there's of course the Pitaka military protective case. Now this offers a lot more protection than the regular ones. I think they called it the Mag Easy Pro back then, which was a lot blockier in its shape too. It's got rounded edges now, which is a net positive. Very clicky buttons too, and they have a glossy black finish on them. As far as the camera control button goes, they went with a top cutout, but a big one at that. So there is a lot of room to actually use that button. But it still makes it a little harder to press in compared to the naked iPhone. It does feature a soft connection piece, which also results in a weaker side. I couldn't say weak side, but it did not survive the slap test, which also results in a weaker side. The fit is good, a little too snug if you ask me, since removing this case can be quite a task. There's also a little bit of sagging here at the front of the screen and an unrefined edge at the USB-C port, which feels sharp. Now luckily for them, you don't feel that while holding this case, so that's good, but it's still an unrefined piece, which is just unacceptable for 80 USD. The camera bump is the same shape again, but with some sort of TPU material here. And the texture is not feelable on this unit, but feels very soft. Lastly, they do feature those edges which get narrower towards the backplate, which we've seen before with other cases like the Subcase UB, and it is still very comfortable to hold. Then we also have the Spigen option called the Enzo Aramid. This case still feels very premium with its felt inner, which is really soft, clicky silver buttons, which still contrast that black Aramid fiber so well. And even though silver wouldn't be my first choice in combination with my Desert Titanium iPhone, I still love this design. And for every other color iPhone, it would probably look absolutely amazing. Soft all round, there is not an uncomfortable bit or piece to be found here. Ever so slightly feelable texture to the Aramid fiber as well. And once again, seamless transition towards the sides. That camera bump is also made of metal, which looks great, but could be a little more present if you ask me. But that is the reason why it would still lay flat on the table and not wobble at all. Even though it also has that soft connection piece with the camera control cutout, the corner here isn't affected at all, and the fit is still very snug. You won't get this case off with a smack at all. Good equal front protection, so no swelling at the top or bottom, and I can really recommend this case again. Just know that it's not the grippiest of cases, but it is very comfortable to hold. Now same goes for this case, they already have a button on some of their cases, so most likely they'll upgrade this one sooner or later as well. Make sure you check the description for updates on this case. And then lastly, the ArmorPro, the bigger brother of the ArmorAir. It just looks so sleek. The texture on the back is completely gone here though, so very smooth. There's a subtle texture on the sides too, which makes it grippier, and it doesn't feel annoying at all. This is the first time I actually like a subtle texture on a case. And yes, it's also present at the bottom, but not noticeable at all. So still very comfortable to hold with your pinky finger. Very clicky buttons again, but the action button is a little harder to press. Equal front protection, which is minimal, but still does the job. But then the camera control cutout. The space around it is fine and it does feature those sloped edges, but the actual cutout is too small and doesn't feature enough room to comfortably use the button, as if there is no case on there. You have to have really small fingers if you're able to use this without issues. The fit is very tight but easily removed, which I always love to see. A double camera bump, one from the case itself and then one that is set inside of that one. Looks really advanced and gives you that premium feel. The MagSafe strength is also very strong at like a 10 out of 10, more than you would ever need. And you love to see it. And then there's also the ArmorPro Montage, which is pretty much identical except for the camera bump, which is now completely black, the buttons not being as clicky, and the backplate, which now features all kinds of different textures on there. And I must say it looks unique. Still hate those letters on there though, which does not really look good. Features the same subtle texture, the same camera control issue, same front protection, same fit, even the same strong MagSafe magnets. So there's not a whole lot I can add here, just a different look as far as this case goes. But yeah, there can only be one winner. And for this category, it's the Enzo Aramid. The most comfortable cutout as far as the camera control goes, great fit too, no issues at all, very smooth, refined and clicky buttons. It also feels very strong and the MagSafe magnets are very strong too. This case is all you need when you want an Aramid Fiber, classy style but still protective case for your 16 series iPhone. Now, yes, I am aware that the Rebel case also has a bulkier variant with Aramid Fiber, and yes, I do have the Rebel series too, just not in the Aramid Fiber variant. And with the version I have, I wasn't too impressed with the camera control cutout, since it is that narrow top pill cutout here too. The fit is great on this one though, very refined feeling case too, more than enough protection, and I can definitely recommend this one as well if you can look through the camera control cutout for now. But I just feel like as of this month, November 2024, the Spigen Enzo Aramid is just the best all-rounder. Now, if you do want to see more case videos, make sure you also watch this one, or maybe this one. I'll see you there.